On the 22nd of May, I shared this image on my Instagram account. Follow me on Instagram, link in the description box below. And Elskels made this comment. She said, more ideas of what to do with just 1 meter of fabric, please. And I thought, that would be a good idea to do on YouTube. And she said, yes, it's a great idea. Actual wearable items. She loves scrap busting projects, but it would be so much more satisfying to have an item of clothing. And you know what? Elskels and everybody else, we're going to be making that a thing here on the channel. And in this video, we're going to work together to turn some gorgeous crepe fabric into a sexy maxi skirt. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. Hello, my name is Juliet Uzor of sosonatural.com, a place for people who like to own their style, sew their own clothes, and showcase them fearlessly and shamelessly for everyone to see. So let's get on to the tutorial. So I got 1 meter of this gorgeous crepe fabric, and it was much wider than 1 meter. So I thought, well, if I have a very wide fabric and just 1 meter of it, I can create lots with it. So as you can see, I'm going to be using some elastic. We definitely need a safety pin to get the elastic band through a channel. So in order to get started with this project, I went ahead with the wider part of the fabric as the width of the skirt, and then the 1 meter length of the fabric as the length of the skirt. But you can decide on how long you want your fabric to be. So go ahead and measure yourself to determine how long you want your skirts to be. And you also need to measure your waist in order to work out how much elastic you're going to be needing. So when people sew, you have your right sides together and then take things to the sewing machine. But for this skirt, we're going to do things differently because we want to hide all the raw edges. So we are joining the wrong sides together first, and we'll take it over to the sewing machine and give it a stitch. And the stitch is going to have, as you can see on the screen, a 1 centimeter seam allowance, or 3/8 of an inch. When you do that, you then need to join right sides together this time. So give it a press first, just to keep things nice and flat. And then you would have the right sides together, and this time we would use a 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, or 5/8 of an inch. So when you create that long seam from the top of the skirt to the bottom, you'll be left with the tube. However, I had to do some unpicking, and this would be explained a little bit further down the rest of the video. So keep watching so you'd find out what I had to do to modify the skirt. Okay, so when you're done with that French seam that gets rid of all the raw edges, we need to move on to the hem of your skirt. So 1 centimeter folded down and pressed, and then another centimeter folded down and pressed. And we take it over to the sewing machine to create a hem. Now that the hem's completed, and we're left with only 1 raw edge, and that's right at the top of the skirt, we need to fold it over 1 centimeter again, or 3/8 of an inch, and fold it over to fit in the elastic band that you're going to be using. So we're creating a channel for the elastic band. As you can see, my elastic band is a 3 centimeter elastic band. I added a centimeter for the seam allowance and just half a centimeter. That's just to allow this elastic to slide into the channel easily. So you fold it over to fit in that elastic. So the measurements used here is 4.5 centimeters, but it all depends on how wide your elastic is. Whichever elastic you're going to use for your skirt will determine how much you fold it over the second time. At this point, you need to remember to leave a 2-inch wide gap. That would allow you to fit or slide your elastic into the channel. At this point, you need to make sure that the elastic band you use is 2 inches less than your waist measurement. So you measure out your waist and subtract 2 inches, and that will just allow things to be nice and, you know, sit nicely on your waist when you wear it. And slide in that elastic using your safety pin. So now that your elastic is finally through, you need to pin both sides flat. You need to have one on top of the other, so you would have a nice and flat elastic band, and take it to the sewing machine and give it a zigzag stitch. A zigzag stitch, then pull the elastic nice and flat into the channel, and you need to stitch over that opening where the elastic was passed in through. You can decide to stop at this point, but if you want to take things a little bit further, all you need to do is pull the waistband of the skirt, and whilst you're pulling the elastic, you can sew a long stitch down the middle of the waistband. Remember when I mentioned earlier that I had to do some unpicking? I had to do some unpicking because I decided that the skirt needed a bit of a slit. This slit can be on the side of the skirt, it could be in front, or it can be at the back. And I unpicked that one seam that joined the fabric into a skirt. Pressed it over 1 centimeter twice to create a hem, and give it a stitch. The one key thing to be very mindful about is when you get to the seam right at the top of your slit, wherever you decide you want your slit to be, you just need to just snip a little bit using your pair of scissors to make sure that the fabric doesn't pull at the slit, at the very top of the slit. So that part is super important. Make sure that you just snip a little bit into the fabric to keep things nice and flat. And that's what I'm doing here, by the way. As a result of all that unpicking and rehemming, this skirt needed a good press. So using a steam iron, just run that iron down the seams, especially at the top of the slit. A little trick that I have for you is to use a ruler, just a little ruler, to trap in the steam from your iron to keep things nice and flat. And yes, I enjoyed making this skirt, and I paired it with this white t-shirt, and I have lots of ideas of how I'm going to style this skirt in the summer. And I really am pleased that I used my 1 meter of fabric to create a skirt. on the screen is another video that would show you how to create a gathered skirt but with an exposed elastic band. I hope to see you over at that video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. All the very best. Bye.